Just a trip, with my grandbaby, and I meet this phenomenal woman who has done this great work. How did you come to the point where you felt like this needs to be heard? Yeah. This is something that gets overlooked quite often, and somebody needs to know that there are stories behind the people who are visiting providers, who are sitting on these tables, who are sitting in waiting rooms. Right. How did you come to that place where it was time to share this story so people could understand?
I, being a survivor, I did not like going to the doctor, anything medical, and I would avoid it, or I would go and just kind of muscle it up. And then 2 years ago, my family was in a car accident, and I was injured and was diagnosed with CRPS2, which is a nerve injury. And I hated going to the doctor, and I had about 10 appointments coming up. And I looked at my sweet kids, I looked at my husband, and I was like, I've gotta do this. Like, yes. I've got to get back to the best version of myself. And so going to these appointments over and over again. And the biggest one for me was that I had to continually advocate for myself, continually being okay, saying I was a survivor when I went in, and saying things that I needed, and realize that the system was broken because I was with the same system, and they should have known by now. Like, it should have been in my chart. It should have been flagged. The doctor should have known. And if the doctors or healthcare providers had trauma-informed care, there's very simple things. For example, providing me with a blanket, or not asking me to get undressed unless it was absolutely necessary, allowing me to wear my own clothes. And so it's probably after about the 10th or 12th visit, honestly, I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this worth something. So I just started journaling every single thing, and then journaling what I wish the providers knew. And it wasn't that a provider was doing anything wrong. It was that they didn't have the tools. They didn't have the tools. They didn't know to use the tools. Yeah. And so that's what.
So something was missing.
Something was missing.
In care.
Yes.
So tell us, and this is something we kind of jumped over, because usually in the beginning I like to know and let our listeners know who we're talking to. Yeah. So tell us about Suzanne Bell, who you are. And then we're going to try to transition into, not only who you are, but what is the part of your journey that put you in a place where you begin to think differently about how you encounter people and how people treat you, especially in healthcare. Yeah. So tell us about Suzanne.
Oh man, there's so many. I'm Suzanne. I have a wonderful husband and 2 children that are the light of my life. I am a survivor, and it's taken a while to just be able to say that with joy and not shame or sadness. Like, it is what it is. Yeah. And I'm living my best life despite of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm a teacher. I'm an author. I teach online. I also teach in a hospital. I'm also a dance director.
Nice.
So, yes. So I love working with the community and with children. Really just with people that may not have found their voice yet is my passion. So
very nice, very nice. So you mentioned that you went through a trauma.
Yes.
And I'm not sure to the extent you would like to go into that, but can you highlight a little bit of what that trauma entailed?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I was sexually assaulted. It was not by a coworker, but I was brought to the place that I was assaulted by a coworker. And so there's many layers to that. I thought that I could trust the person. We carpooled together, and this was in my early 20s. So when I was my first year's teaching, we were carpooling to work. And then on the way home, I was brought to a location where I was assaulted by multiple men. Wow. And then brought back home. And I did not disclose right away. It took a few months. And I continued to power through it. I was used to not having a voice. That was just part of my past of not having a voice, not feeling like I could speak up. Being a girl, right? A lot of people just didn't believe me. I was a girl, and was what I said really true? And so it took me a few months to disclose to my best friend. And it's been a healing journey since then. But that is what brought me to this place.
Yeah. And I can imagine it would. And a lot of women that I talk to, including myself, you know, have dealt with something to that nature. And so my question for you and that is, do you think, like, because a lot of times when we go through this, we don't discuss it right away.
Right.
We hold off.
Right.
And there's different reasons that we could have done that. Do you think that your reason for doing that was more shame and embarrassment, or more along the lines of nobody's going to believe this, nobody's going to believe me, and you know, what did you feel as far as holding on to it and not really knowing when to start speaking with someone who you could trust?
Yeah, it's a good question. Let me think about it. I think that I don't think it was shame right away. I think it was utter confusion.
That's good.
I think I was young, and I mean, early 20s is young to me now, right? But I was young, I was fresh. One of the things I remember specifically being worried about was being told it was my fault, that I shouldn't have carpooled with this male friend in the first place. I shouldn't have been with him. I should have had better judgment. Wow. And so I think it wasn't shame of what happened to me. It was shame that I put myself in that situation. And then also that I wouldn't be believed.
Yeah. And it's so often that when we go through these things, whether somebody else says it or whether we feel it ourselves, it always seems like that the fault tends to be ours.
Right.
Rather, you know, even as a victim, it's like you own that it's your fault. Even if nobody says it to us, we kind of internalize that as it's my fault. I should have. I should not have.
Right.
And so that's a common place, I think, for us as survivors that we tend to go to. And then it takes us some time along the journey to realize, no, it's really not my fault.
That's right.
You know, and so for the people who do hurt us, a lot of them, they get by, unfortunately. So in your case, did, you know, and I know probably at that time nothing happened right away, but did it come to the point where this person was held accountable for what they did?
Yeah. Man, it's been a long time since someone has asked me that question. So, no. In short, I disclosed to my best friend. I then spoke to my oldest brother, and he was young too. He came down. He came to the rescue, honestly. And we reported it to the police. We took out a restraining order. That was honored. And then within the same week, I had a detective come to my house, and I thought that the detective was from the county because I had made the report. But I came to find out later, probably like a year or two later, that the detective was actually from my school. And so the school had sent a detective because I had told the principal that my coworker had done this and I had resigned from my job. And the detective was from the school. And to this day, Katrina, I hear the words in my head. Like, he said to me, I will absolutely find them. And he said, there's probably videotape based on where it is. He says, but they will most likely get away with it. And are you sure that you want to go down this road?
Wow.
And if I was the woman then that I am now, I would have pursued it.
Yeah.
But I was not.
Yeah.
Right? And so I had this detective telling me that he could find videotape and he could find the men, but most likely they would get away with it.
Wow.
I did not pursue any further. I wish I had, but then again, my 20-year-old self couldn't have handled it.
Yeah.
So I don't regret it, though I wish.
Yeah, and we do.
Right.
And being so young at that time, and then for someone in that authority to come to you and say those words, it would bring, something to mind like, that means it's going to be we're going to drag this out. I'm going to have to show up. I'm going to have to say this. I'm going to have to face them. I'm going to have to watch the video. So many things that could possibly happen. But, and I hate using the word hate. I do. But I really hate that the conclusion that he gave you was he's probably gonna get away with it. Nothing's probably gonna happen. And I would hope that those are not the conclusions that are, relayed to women now in this present day.
That's right.
To say, hey, bro, it's over with, it's done with, they're probably gonna get it, and there's no point in fighting it. Because so many, and I looked up some statistics, but so many people, so many women, first of all, a great volume of women never have come forward.
Right.
And it says that the reason that they haven't come forward is some of them is out of fear, some of them is out of shame, but some believe that nothing would be done in the first place.
Right.
And that is why so many women are just kind of stuck in the place that they are and just holding on to that hurt and that pain that they're still dealing with. And it's still affecting some people because everybody hasn't healed yet.
Absolutely.
And that is what her story is. I'm here, as I believe the gift that God has given me to not only share my story, but also sit and listen to and talk about the stories of other survivors, people who have overcome trauma. And even if we haven't overcome completely, we're at a place of peace.
That's right.
Where we can breathe better.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
So I'm happy that you are here in this place.
Thank you.
In your journey. And so moving on further now in life, life has gone on.
Right.
You started pursuing your career. You started working in your career. You've started building a family. So now you have children.
Yes.
Do you have daughters?
Yes.
And I can imagine that you're
one daughter, one son.
Okay.
Yes.
And you're probably very protective both of them.
Very.
But do you find yourself looking at your baby girl and saying to yourself mentally, I'm going to protect her. I'm going to always make sure that I'm watching and I'm going to pay attention to make sure. And if she says anything, I'm going to listen. I'm going to talk to her. I'll let her talk to me. If anything was to ever happen to her, we are going to fight this. Do you ever find yourself doing that?
Oh, yes. And not only with my daughter, with my son this morning, he's older. He's just turned 11. And so, he's starting to go to some things by himself, like sports practices and things. And this morning I gave him the talk again.
Nice.
And Dad was bringing him, and my son was like, Mom was talking to me about some more sus stuff. So that's they know. And yes, and I think as a survivor, I have, let's say, a handful of friends that realize that I do parent differently. They realize that sometimes my anxiety is really high. And my friends that can respect that and love me through that, right? I cherish them so much because they realize it's not just being an overbearing parent.
Yeah.
But instead of seeing the harm of this world.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to protect my baby.
Yes, absolutely. And it's good to have people in your corner like that.
That's right.
You need them because we still need to lean.
That's right.
Sometimes. So it's always great to have somebody strong
Yes.
to let us lean on them every now
That's
and
right.
then.
That's right.
So that's great. And so I can understand more of your book now beyond the exam room. I can understand more why you have written what you've written, because of what you've gone through and because of the story that nobody knew the details of, however, should be recognized that there's a possibility that this patient is different from the next patient. And regardless of who the patients are, there should be certain practices in place to make sure that they're comfortable. So after you've had to, what you say, your 12th visit? Finally breaking them out. After that one, it's like, this is too much.
Yes.
So have you, with this book, because it's almost like teaching.
Yes.
There is a lesson. It's like, let me tell you how I felt as a patient, and let me share with you some things that you could do better.
Yes.
And recognizing.
That's right.
And helping and supporting. So had you ever communicated this with like your own providers who was providing your specific care?
Oh, yes. So every single chapter is based on a visit. So everything is something that I have experienced. And some providers, I've been met with different things. I've been met with I'll tell you two stories.
Okay.
I'll tell you a really hard story and then a really beautiful redemptive story. So one procedure that I had was a nerve block in my neck. And they were trying to, it was a diagnosis, but then it was also trying to see if it could stop the misfiring of the pain signals that were going to my brain. And so I had this procedure done. And I had to be awake for it. That's just the way it works. And so I'm laying on this steel table, and this long needle is going into my neck. And I get so cold. And I don't really know if I was cold, right? But I'm just shivering, and I'm just saying I'm so cold. And the doctor, an older gentleman, repeatedly was like, "You're fine. It's okay. It'll be over soon." And for a survivor, it'll be over soon. Yeah. You're fine. It's okay. Yeah. Right. We're so triggering. Yeah. And I just remember shaking uncontrollably. And he just kept telling me to be still. I couldn't be still. Yeah. And just felt like I was being very dramatic is the way that he was treating me. And I remember afterwards just sitting, I had to stay for like an hour to make sure I was okay, medically. And I just remember I was sobbing, but I was sobbing because I'd had a panic attack on the table. And there wasn't anybody there. And I think simply if I had just had a blanket, if I had just been, they had said, "Okay, hold on. Yeah. Let's just wait." Right? Yeah. Like, I'm not an animal. I don't need to be on a cold table without anything. Right? Yeah. And so that was extremely traumatic.
I can imagine.
After, I don't remember if it was before or after that appointment, but I did have a meeting with, I went to an appointment with a new provider, and I just asked her, I said, "Listen, I work for this particular healthcare system. I know for a fact that you can flag my chart." I was like, "I've asked so many times for my chart to be flagged, and no one has done it." Wow. And I was even told by someone very high up in the hospital system, they said, "Well, it's just really difficult to get to in the charts. Like, not all the providers know how to do it." But I finally found a provider that did. Good. And she was like, "All right." And she's like, "What do you want to say?" And I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "I will say whatever you want to say." And so I was able to put in my words in my chart exactly what I wanted to say.
That's good.
And then just a week later, I went for another sleep study, and I walked in, and I was so nervous. It was at night. The doors were locked. There's nobody there to greet you. You had to kind of just wait until they came and got you. I didn't feel safe. So I'm just sitting there kind of twiddling my thumbs. And then a man walks out of the office to get everybody. And I'm like, I cannot do this. And I was literally about to turn around, just walk to my car. This nurse runs out. She's like, Suzanne! And I'm like, yes. And she came over and she was like, I just need you to know I have to go upstairs, but I've got you. She said, I will be the person that takes care of you. There will be no men in the room.
Oh,
And she was so sweet and so kind. She knocked before she came in. She waited for me to respond. You know, doctors will knock and then come in.
right.
Right? They're not going to wait for you to say come in. And so she took time to ask me what I needed for that night. And that was my third sleep study. And that third sleep study, I was able to do it.
Wow.
So
that is a huge difference.
A huge difference.
Huge difference. And I'm so happy that not only did she take time to read, because she had to, for her to respond like that, she had to have read.
That's right.
What you put in there.
That's right.
And then not only that, but she sounds like she followed through exactly.
She did.
To what would make you comfortable.
Yeah, she went over and beyond. Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That is awesome. And so with your book, I read it when I first brought it home. But when I read it, I was like, this is a book that I need to share with people. And it's such great lessons, it's such great insight, and it's so simple.
Yes.
Like there's nothing to it. It's so simple. And honestly, when I was reading it and I finally finished it, I said, this book should be a part of the actual curriculum because they do build curriculums for teach people or retrain people how to take care of patients, how to communicate.
That is my hope.
Different things. Yes. And that is definitely something that should be in rotation for these classes and trainings that are done at acute facilities as well as provider offices, outpatient, definitely, because I think it's very powerful.
Thank you.
And it took some time. It took a person to experience it over and over.
Right.
Before they came to the place where they said, enough is enough. My appointments have been many, but if I can capture this time now to prevent others from having to go through so many appointments feeling this same way.
That's right.
So I applaud you for this work. It's a really, really good work. So with that, have you begun a next book, or is this something that will be part of a series?
Yeah, great question. So, since we have last spoken, I've actually published 2 more books. Nice. So, one book is for parents or family members or friends that are supporting a survivor, and just how to walk through the journey with them. And then I've also published a children's book. It's called Lila and Bunny. And it's about a child that has gone through trauma and what it looks like for that child regarding courtrooms and doctor's visits and counseling.
That is good.
I'm excited about Lila and Bunny because I was able to, it's 1 book, but it's actually 4. So I was able to take the same story and redo it 4 different times with a different race. Yes. And so it's so important that our children can see someone that looks like them.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. We have so much in common. We do. We have so much in common, but this show is not about me today. It's about Suzanne. We do. And that's why I think I enjoy talking to you in your company, because where you are in your journey with writing and getting messages out there and making people aware. Is the same place I desire to be and am moving towards as well. So I love it. I love the conversation. So good. So we've got 2 more books that are published, and I'm sure, without a shadow of a doubt, that you already got some stuff going on in the brain. And that you're ready to start working on and creating some more literature and works to go out. Now, do you have anything set up as far as where you'll be doing some book signings or something for authors?
Right. So right now I'm trying, I have so much in my brain, as you know, that I want to put on paper, but I'm trying to figure out what the next steps are. So with Beyond the Exam Room, I've done one training at a pediatrics office. And it went so well. They started implementing just a simple survey, and they were just overwhelmed with the amount of patients that were willing to disclose their trauma.
Let's talk about the turning point. In your personal journey, was there a specific moment? And I know you've already kind of said, as you begin going to the provider's offices and after certain visits, you realize, we something's got to be done about this. But was there a turning point you felt you were moving from surviving to actively reclaiming who you are? Because there is that point sometimes.
Yes. I would say that has happened so many times, right? I would say the very first time going from surviving to reclaiming who I was, which is a weird thing, right? Because we're not reclaiming who we were, because we can never be who we were again.
Right.
But reclaiming our personality and who I believe God has created us to be in this new version of ourselves. And so the first time was probably a year and a half after the assault, when my friend invited me to do a dance concert with her and asked me if I would be willing to share my story and to dance with her. And she was a survivor as well. And I invited my brothers, and they came. I have 5 brothers, and and they came, and I shared my story publicly for the first time, and that was the first time there were so many people there that I knew, that I just felt like a weight fell off of like, now they know, right? Because no one knew, and so I just felt like crying in church. I was leaving church. I was avoiding social situations, right? And then that kind of helped make things sense to people. But that was like the very first baby step, right? So then a few years later, I actually went to an outpatient facility, and I went there for about 8 months, and just healed, and so that was another point. And then there's been multiple points along the way. I feel like recently, part of reclaiming myself looks very different, because I think people that knew me before my assault, and then people that knew me after my assault, but pre this new Suzanne, are a little bit taken back. Because I just feel like life is so short.
It is.
And I just don't have time for arguing. I don't have time if we're not aligned, we're not on the same page. And not like little disagreements, but pretty big disagreements, right? Just like, what, it's just okay. I'm just too tired to argue with you. And I love you. We're going to have to go separate ways. So I think that's a part of myself that I'm reclaiming right now, that I do have a voice. And I think for 40 plus years, I just didn't really believe that I actually had one. So I think I'm scaring people right now. I got something to say.
That's good. So it had to feel good to be up there and finally share your story.
Yeah.
Especially when there's people in the room, like you said, who know you. And so now you can get it out and they hear it.
Yes.
So did you ever have anyone to come up to you and start sharing, hey, I dealt with this?
Yes. Well, I've had multiple people, at that time, right after that time was pretty hard too, because there wasn't people respecting my story. There were people freely sharing my story, and then kind of telling other people. And it seemed like there was kind of like a trauma hunger. Like people wanted to hear a bad story. And I found myself in that trap a few times until I finally figured it out. And I told the person that they were not allowed to share my story. But that was my story to share.
Yes.
But after this book, I had multiple people, some people I didn't know, that showed on social media, that asked if they could call me and talk to me. Wow. And share their story, and very specific to the medical field, and realizing that they weren't alone, and that they're happy that they're not the only person that it's so hard to go to the doctor. And so that's been a real blessing to me.
Yeah, absolutely. You've reached people.
Yes.
Reached people. Otherwise, and it's people like you who are you bold enough to share your story to where others can hear it. Otherwise, they would have kept it to themselves. They would never, ever share it with anybody. But then there comes this bold Suzanne who was confident and okay with sharing her story. And now that kind of ignited something in them to say, I feel okay sharing mine too. And so that's a good thing.
That's right. And I've had a few people that have bought the book and like have given it to their doctor. And then also, one thing I did not expect from it, but it makes total sense, is giving survivors language for when they go to the doctor.
Nice.
And so being able to take the language that's already there. So it's so much easier to advocate for someone else than yourself.
It is.
So much easier.
It is.
And so if you already have something that tells you this is what you can ask for, you have that language, then it makes it a little easier to ask for what you need.
It does. It does. And that is a really good point. If they can't find the words to say, it's clearly stated in your book that can kind of help guide them.
Right. Which
so
I wasn't even thinking that part.
So as far as that book, and this is your very first one, right?
Yes.
Have you thought about writing a book about, and I know you've got others out there now and are thinking, to move forward in that, but have you thought about writing another one just completely centered around that trauma that you went through and how you pushed through that?
Yeah, good question. So I think probably yes, down the road. I think this book right here, and then Love and Beyond the Hurt for families and friends, and then Lila and the Bunny. I think it's been a really sweet and calm journey of realizing, because I am an educator, and so being able to talk in educator language has really helped me as a survivor to share my story in a different light, right? I haven't figured out. I think that it's coming, but I think I'm still growing into it.
And you said something. You said, as an educator, you write as an educator, and you're right. You do, because not only are you sharing the trauma, but then you are educating everyone. You're educating the person who was traumatized. You're educating the person who is taking care of the person who is traumatized. And now you've journeyed to the place where you're educating the people who are supporting the ones who were traumatized. So that education background is like perfect.
It's working really good for me.
Passion. So reclaiming your identity isn't always a straight line, as we know. So how do you handle those days and those moments where you feel lost again?
There are many days I feel lost again, right? They come pretty often. I think for me, I have the beautiful blessing of having children. And now what I would call children, the blessing, and then it's just a beautiful distraction. And so one thing that I have found that helps me is just going and doing something fun. There was a part of me that believed early on, and no one taught me this belief. I don't know where I came up with this belief, right? But like, if you're sad or if you're angry or traumatized or whatever, either you're not allowed to have fun, you're not allowed to be happy. And I believed that so strongly that like I was a fake, or that people wouldn't believe me, or that I was a liar because I was happy. Like that I had to just always be, upset or sad. And so reclaiming that is going and doing something. I love roller coasters.
Really?
And my kids do too.
Even now?
Yeah. And so going, like, we go to Carowinds, right?
Yeah.
And it might not be on a day that I feel lost, right? But it makes me feel alive. Like I love going and just doing something fun. I love getting out of the house. My husband is wonderful, and he's like, "You're always leaving." I'm like, "You're right," but it's because I have the choice. Yeah. And so realizing every day is a choice, and I can choose what I do. I remember a friend recently was very shocked that I asked her if she wanted to go to the zoo on a Sunday. And she was like, "I'm going to church." I was like, "I know. Come to the zoo with me. We go to the same church." And she was like, "No." I was like, "All right. Well, I'm going to the zoo with my kids." It was because I felt lost that morning. And I felt anxiety, and I didn't want to go to church, and I was already teary-eyed. And normally old me would just push through it. But I realized that there's so much grace. Yeah. And it's okay just to go and do something and just enjoy the weather and enjoy your children. Yeah. So that would be my answer.
That's good. Yeah. Very good. And you said something interesting too that I hadn't really thought much about, but where when you've gone through something, people expect you to always be in that broken place. It's like you went through this. You're supposed to be broken and sad and not be joyful ever. Yeah. And that's interesting because there is truth to that. They expect you to be there. So it's just interesting that you brought that up. A lot of good points. Things that I never thought about before. But it's true because I've experienced it. And thinking about it now, I've experienced that where people expect that of you. Yeah. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it's that they can't fathom how someone could go through what you went through and still, I think so, have the courage to smile and still have the courage to have joy. Yeah. So they can't really fathom it because they haven't experienced it. Possibly, maybe that kind of has something to do with it. Yeah, I think there's just different expectations, I think, that society puts on us. And when you don't meet what society says, especially as women, and especially as trying to walk that line of people believing you, I just had to let that line go and just, I can't be sad all the time. Right. And then final encouragement. So if you could say one thing to women listening who are terrified for the trauma that they've gone through, and they feel like something has been permanently stolen from them, or that they haven't been treated the way that they feel like they should have been treated. So what would it be? What would you say to those women to kind of help guide them to the place where it's going to be okay? And what can we say to encourage them at that place that they're in? I think that I would say first, it's okay if it's never okay. It's like maybe it's never going to be okay, and that part is okay, right? I would encourage survivors to grieve and to grieve hard. So I think allowing yourself to be angry, allowing yourself to sob and cry and scream if need be, because
something was stolen from you and you're not going to get it back. Right?
Yeah.
But then realizing there is a new you on the other side. There is. And that new you is going to be stronger. Yes. And I do not advocate at all for everything happens for a reason. I don't advocate for that because I feel like it broke God's heart.
Of course.
Right. And so when after the assault, church was really hard for me because I felt like people had a lot of Christian things to say that were not helpful in the healing process. And so as a survivor, I was like, find a few good friends, right, that can be mad with you, can ride roller coasters with you, right, or go to the beach with you. You'll find yourself. Don't be afraid to laugh or have fun or make a joke.
Thank you again for joining us on the podcast today. Thank you everyone for viewing us on the podcast today. This is Suzanne Bell, author of Beyond the Exam Room. I'll push that up a little bit so you can see it really well. But where can they purchase this particular book?
Yeah, so on Amazon. Just Beyond the Exam Room by Suzanne Bell, and then you will also find my other books in the links.
Awesome. And tell them the name of your other books again.
Yep. So I have Beyond the Exam Room, which is our medical survivor guide, and then Loving Beyond the Hurt, which is for family members and friends, and then Lila and the Bunny, which is a trauma-informed storybook.
Awesome. So that's 3 books by Suzanne Bell. We can go to Amazon.com and purchase one of those. Support. Listen, I read this book and you will not be disappointed. I think that there's something for everyone in this book, male and female, boy and girl. I think that there's something vital in it for all of us, even if it's to the point where we buy it just to share with our providers so that they can understand where we are. So thank you again for joining. Thank you again, Suzanne.
Of course.
And we'll see you again soon.